Oh yeah, bang bang to the gang. Faithful Boys Podcast, P Warrior _9, the Benjamin. That's good. Y'all know the motto. We bang and we can't no more, and that's infinity and beyond. Good with your big bro.
All right. Good. Been watching this free agency coverage, and 49ers traded for an excellent defensive tackle, Osa Odigizue from the Cowboys for a third round pick. I was just watching some of his highlights from last year, and he's definitely an upgrade in terms of pass rush. I believe he's only 27 years old, which means he still is relatively young, and his contract is fits right within the salary cap structure of the team. And from what I seen on the highlights that I was watching before we got on, excellent penetrator from the defensive tackle position, was in the backfield. Is also good against the run, but for what we need him for the pass rush from the interior, definitely better than what we've had, and is gonna also be able to help Collins and CJ West. So we got a good young uh, defensive tackle rotation now, and so you got to give Lynch and uh, the front office props on being able to identify what they needed and bringing him in, giving up a third round pick, which we don't know what type of player it would have been, and what they could have produced. I mean, the upside would have been cheaper, younger, but you got a proven player, and sometimes you got to get a proven player that you willing to give up the pick for. So good trade by us, and looking forward to seeing what he's going to do in the defense, going forward.
Now, but specifically with this one, we gonna echo the sentiments of the Rams and say fuck them picks. Like I say, third round, we need interior pass rush. So that's a plus. To give up a third round pick for a possible starter, but a for sure contributor. I mean, I feel like that's a good trade off. You know what I'm saying? And like you say, proven, so you kind of know what you're getting. Yeah, I'm willing to part with the third round pick. Uh, was surprised to see it, but definitely pleased. You know what I'm saying? Like fresh across the wire, I thought, yeah, it's right on time. We about to hop on air, so it was good. I haven't seen him yet. Like I haven't looked at any clips. Was listening to one of the guys, I think Krug. I was listening to Krug talk about him and basically echoing what you're saying as far as him being able to penetrate, get into the backfield, get after the quarterback. So uh, seeing as though the defense definitely wasn't generating much pressure last year, it's a welcome addition to the team. And yeah, we can finish. I guess this episode we'll be kind of walking down these free agent signings that we've made. One that I would like to I guess touch on before we I guess really get into the big splash, and we know who that is. Eddie Pinheiro, bro. And I think that was big. Signed him to a 4-year deal, 17 million. Uh Came in and did a great job for us. I don't feel like he missed too many. A veteran, you know what I'm saying? Again, know what you're gonna get. And we know a lot of these games come down to if you could get in range to really make that kick. So to have somebody we can rely on and be confident in, I'm pleased with that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Really, if you think about it, Pinheiro saved these special teams and the season, really, because they started off with Moody, and he was trash, and they got rid of him, and then they brought Pinheiro in, and just overall special teams, even with the punt and the kickoff coverage, and just the field goals that they made. And really, Shanahan just wants somebody who he's confident in, that can make the kicks from whoever he's gonna put them out there. And Pinheiro went above and beyond. And really, the last kicker that we had was like that, where it was pretty much money in the bank, was Robbie Gold,
You
and
know it.
so
Good as gold,
yeah,
baby.
so we definitely, you know, um, and that's, once again, you got to give props to the scouting and the um, the the department that, you know, looks at these kickers and brings these people in and, you know, knows the history of these guys and things like that. And so,
Shouts out to
you know, they
filtering that
brought
out.
him back. They brought the long snapper back. They probably gonna bring back the punter. And they did lose Sky Moore to Green Bay as a punt returner, so they'll have to get a punt returner. You know, I was a little disappointed because I thought Moore had, you know, really upgraded the return teams and things, but you know, hopefully they can find somebody who can step into that role and do it as at least on his level, if not better. So no, I mean they had to sign Pinheiro. He earned the money that he got, and then like I said, if it come down to a game-winning kick, we got the confidence to know he can make it because he made some game-winning kicks and clutch field goals and you know these types of things. So all of that helps. And so yes, that's a definitely an addition that you know we should be pleased with and know that there'll be consistency in the kicking game, and you can't ask for more than that, you know, from your field goal kicker.
Nah, real spill. Look like we added some line depth. I don't even know how to pronounce his first name. Last name Lowe.
Vidarian Lowe. Yeah, Vidarian Lowe played with New England and got some run last year. You know, he'll be the swing tackle. And then they brought in this guy from Philly, Brett Toth, who started some games for them last year. I think had over 300 snaps. So they bringing in people who are younger, who can add depth. I think Brett Toth played guard for Philly and played and started some games for them when he had some injuries on the offensive line. So once again, you know, I think, you know, as I've been watching the coverage and, you know, a lot of the 49er fans, whether I'm watching David Lombardi or Krug or, you know, or Chat Sports with the one guy, I'm forgetting his name. You know, our fans want us to make these big splashes and spend this money and this and that. And on some level, you know, they got to spend, you know, for the market and things like that. But our philosophy is they're always going to be cap sound, which means they're not going to put themselves in a position where they have their cap space and don't have the ability to roll over cap space from year to year with the cap rising. And then they're going to value the draft picks. You know, we're not going to give up no 2 number ones for, you know, Max Crosby. And we're not going to pay 40, 30 million for, you know, for the dude that just went to the Ravens today, you know,
Henderson
and things like that. So, you know, I think the reality for, you know, 49er fans that a lot of fans, you know, sometimes don't want to accept is that they're going to always be sound with the cap because they always want to be flexible with the cap, be able to roll cap space over. And as the cap continues to grow, it gives them the ability to sign a big name free agent or bring somebody in or bring multiple people in. And then they value the draft picks because it's cost controlled. And then you can, in 2 to 3, 4 years, however many years, depending on if it's first round, second round, third round picks, so on and so forth, you can judge and evaluate if that person is worthy of a big time second contract. And so you got to have the cap space and the flexibility to do it. And then you got to have the draft picks to keep adding to the team. So, you know, while Lynch and them have made certain big splashes, it's a lot of the smaller moves that they have made that have turned players coming from other teams. Like a lot of these defensive linemen that we've had through the years who came from other teams, we developed them. They went off and got the money. Same thing. We look at the quarterbacks, Sam Darnold and Garoppolo, and eventually it's gonna be Mac Jones. Whether they trade him, which more than likely they not, they're gonna keep him. He'll go somewhere and make the money, or whatever the case may be. So, a lot of times, these teams, or us as fans, we looking for the big splash, but it's the smaller moves. It's the second and third tier players that really are the core of your team. Yeah, you got to have stars. Don't get me wrong, but you got to have a football team too, which means you got to have depth. And if we go back to last year, given all of the injuries that they had, you got to give Lynch and them credit for having enough depth to withstand the injuries and still have players come in and make enough plays for us to keep winning games to get us to the position that we was in. Now, obviously, if we have our stars in those moments last year, maybe the outcome is different, but that's here nor there. But you got to have a complete football team. And so while, sometimes the fan were like, well, they need to do this and they need to do that. And why they brought this player in and he ain't up to snuff, or we don't know what they see, and we don't know how they are looking at it. You know what I'm saying? And they know things about these people that we don't know. And so on some level, while some of the players haven't panned out, and we obviously can see it, most of the players have panned out. Now, some of the draft picks haven't panned out, and we know that. But a lot of them have, or they've played enough and been consistent enough to help us win. Can they do better with drafting? Of course. Can a lot of the free agents that they brought in, have panned out and some haven't. So it's a 50-50. Anyone with the draft is 50-50. But Lynch and them philosophy have worked. They looking at having depth at almost every position, and so while we ain't spending $100 million in all on these free agents, the players that they're bringing in, they're gonna help us win games, and that's all you can ask for.
No, that's real. That's real. But shit, the elephant in the room, not really though. And for a while, like I'm gonna do it one more time before we actually get there. Uh, it's been speculated we gonna target many wide receivers, and or we have been in the running for a couple of these free agent wide receivers. Myself specifically was hoping to land Dobbs. Was real high on Romeo Dobbs. I just think he is ascending player who's waiting to burst out. Like if he really just get the opportunity, I obviously got to stay healthy. But I like the young brother. So wanted to see Dobbs, but we signed Mike Evans, brother. Mike Evans finally leaves Tampa Bay. Us being from the city, New Orleans, obviously them playing New Orleans twice a year, we seen him battle a lot, you know what I'm saying? And we know the boy's a dog. For him to leave Tampa Bay, come not the burner, but like we were saying at the beginning of the show, we getting guys who are proven and we know what we're getting. Uh, how do you see him uh, fitting in with the team? What do you think he gonna bring to the team, and ultimately, what do you think that's gonna do for the offense? And just right now with what we have, now we know obviously they're gonna make more moves. Free agency, we on in the third day. We still got the draft, shit like that. But if we were pat as is with only Mike Evans, what do you see the offense being able to do with him in the fold?
Well, if we stand pat, which we know they're not,
Right.
he's going to give us an outside threat. He's going to be able to do the back shoulders and the contested catches. He have a little bit more speed than per se Jawan Jennings, but he a threat. He's known. He's not somebody that you just put any cornerback on there. You're probably gonna put your best corner on him, to cover him. And even if you put your best corner on him with his height, 6'5", 200 and however many pounds, and even at his age, still running maybe not a burning speed, but he's proven, like you said. And so what it does, it takes courage to him, but it also takes people out of the box, because I was, the last couple of days just listening to the commentary of people in the know, people who have played the game, the X's and the O's, these types of things. A lot of our problem last year was that we were facing 8-man boxes because we didn't have the receiving threat. We didn't have that person that could draw a double or draw coverage or, keep safeties back. Well, now with Mike Evans, even at his age, and like I said, he ain't what he was when he, was in his prime, and I wouldn't say he's descending. He's gonna be consistent, but now it frees up the ability for us to run the ball, because we won't be facing the 8-man boxes like we were. And then it also, if Pearsall can stay healthy, it will allow him to get maybe the one-on-one against a lesser corner. And then it's just a veteran who gonna come with his hard hat. He's gonna block. He got to block in Shanahan's scheme. A lot of what I've been hearing the last couple of days is he's going to allow, he's going to be able to teach these younger receivers who they have, the Cowings of the world and the Watkins and whoever they bring in the draft, these types of players how to play the position. And that's just as important as what he's going to produce. Now, offensively, a lot of people have been saying Shanahan is kind of going back to when he had the Andre Johnsons and when he had Julio Jones, that one dog receiver who he ran his, the passing game through, and then he had the complementary receivers. So we know that, and that's the beautiful thing about Shanahan. Shanahan can adapt and adjust based on what he has and the talent. Now, if they can bring in another receiver, whether it's through free agency, maybe not a Romeo Doubs. And yeah, it would have been great to have Dobbs, but the price tag was going to be too much. And that's goes to my earlier point. There's a price range that the 49ers going to stay in as far as what they feel they're going to pay certain amount of players. Now I've been hearing Darnell Mooney, as a person, they're going to draft somebody, whether it's in the first, a second round, or maybe the fourth round, sitting down and they'll have a third round pay. They're going to draft a receiver, because this receiving class is deep and they have a lot of quality receivers. Personally, if they take a receiver at 27, I would like it. I think they're going to go with another defensive lineman or maybe a safety. I've been hearing, kind of varying things.
Right.
Now we got to see, because free agency just started. They have some good safeties out there. A lot of people saying Jaquan Brisker from the Bears, to see, maybe upgrade the safety position. And then we don't know, and we don't know what Raheem Morris and the defensive coaching staff think about the players that's on the roster now, what they want to bring in players. We don't know yet, and the free agency will tell us what the deal is with that. But going back to Mike Evans is going to give us a bona fide threat at the receiver position, somebody that as a defensive coordinator, you got to respect, because he's proven 11 straight years of 1,000 yards. Only him and Jerry Rice have ever done that. So the dude going to be in the Hall of Fame. Now, you got to add more pieces around him. You got to add more speed. But to me, as I'm just watching the coverage and thinking about the team, they want to develop these young receivers. And Watkins going to have his chance. Coleman going to have his chance. You still have Demarcus Robinson. And Demarcus Robinson came up big for us in the playoffs and towards the end of the year once he finally got his footing down. And then we'll have him for another all season. We'll have him for the training camp. We won't have him missing the games because of the DUI stuff that he did. So he's another factor. But they're going to bring people in. And they got to bring another young receiver in now. They can find somebody that's like on Mike Evans' level as far as the physical part of it, and you can learn and do these types of things, and that will help. But he's going to be a factor. But they got to bring more people in offensively at that receiver position. They don't have enough with just him and Pearsall and Robinson and Watkins and Howing. They need more. Whether it's another free agent who maybe not be a high price free agent, but somebody that can run the routes and do all these types of things, or definitely a draft pick, whether it's the first round or the second round or one of these. They got 4 fourth round picks. It could be somebody in that range. Personally, if they got a good first round receiver that falls, that was supposed to be a top 10 pick, you jump on it. Or they're going to go with an edge. Now, they still talking about whether Bryce Huff going to be on the roster, but that's here nor there. They need more playmakers at the receiver position, more threats for Purdy. And, they re-signed Tonjes to the 2-year deal. He going to get more playing time. They probably going to bring in a tight end too, through the draft, and things like that. So they got to get more weapons. You going against the Rams now, who got, McDuffie in the corner. They brought both of the corners in from Kansas City. So you got to have receivers to go up against them. You got to have the receivers to go up against Seattle. So you got to have as many weapons out there as possible, because that's who you're competing against. You're competing against those two teams for your division. And ultimately, the Super Bowl is either going to continue to run through Seattle or it's going to run through the Rams. A lot of people picking the Rams to be the favorites because of the players they brought in. So we got to have weapons. You got to get weapons at all costs. Now, people been talking about bringing Debo back, and a lot of people ain't really feeling Debo coming back. I don't know. I personally, I wouldn't do it. Debo was great when he was here and then when it's prime, but you on a kind of downslide. And people know what you are. You're not a receiver. You're a gadget guy now. You are run after catch guy, get the ball in your hands in space, and then you do that. You ain't no threat at the receiver. It's been proven you can't run the route tree and run it consistently and really be a threat like that. So to me, man, we got to get some receivers that can run the routes, have the speed, the athleticism, and all of these things. We know we got that with Mike Evans. We know we got that with Pearsall. It's got to be proven with Cowan. It's got to be proven with Watkins and whoever they bring in. So I'm thinking at least minimum they're gonna bring at least one more in free agency, maybe one more in the draft, because you need competition there too to make the room better. But Mike Evans is gonna be the feature guy, and I think the chemistry with him and Purdy will be off top. And then you still got McCaffrey, and to me, like as much as last year was rebuilding the defense and getting young guys, y'all got to start rebuilding this offense with playmakers and skill players, which means that some of the players that y'all haven't played, like the Jordan James, I know he was hurt. And then what in the hell you drafted Garendo for? Because he ain't even out there. You know what I'm saying? And then some of that's on the 49ers and Shanahan too. You know what I'm saying? You brought these guys in because you saw something. Well, they might not be able to do everything well, but what they do well, can we use it? Can we, put them in a position to be able to make a play? You know what I'm saying? Given the strengths that they have. So that's something that, ultimately the coaching and all of that dictate. But getting back to your original point, Mike Evans going to make the offense better, and it's going to expand it in maybe ways that we haven't seen it, because really Shanahan haven't had that one dog receiver since he been there. He didn't had some good receivers and some average receiver, which the scheme made great. But now you got a guy who can run your scheme and fit your scheme, but also individually, talent-wise, have been great. So to me, it's a win-win. It's a plus.
Nah, bro. Like I say, it was a little surprise, but I'm with it. Ultimately, we know Purdy a real accurate quarterback, so I feel like the chemistry will be there. I don't know if he throw the long ball as good as Baker Mayfield, but nevertheless, I think they're gonna have good chemistry, bro. And like you said, they're gonna definitely add some more pieces. So we just gotta kind of see what they add to the mix. But I feel like we starting off well, because
I agree.
losing Jennings and gaining another big physical receiver, barring the injury bug, him staying healthy, Pearsall, that's a good tandem. Then whatever else you add to it, I'm still looking for y'all to get one of these 4-3 burners in the draft. But you know how I be rocking, so we'll just keep our fingers crossed on that. Uh, but ultimately, yeah, bro, good start to free agency. Like, we in the mix. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I mean, you can't really ask for nothing else. And, to the points you were making, doing it, but not, not breaking the bank. You know what I'm saying? A mortgage and everything, doing the shit with, with a little bit of attack, I'd say. So, yeah, definitely looking good. We'll see what what else they kind of doing as the weeks progress. And shit, I'm looking for a couple more splashes in free agency. We know it's not going to be, like you say, none of the real big names, but if we could get some key plug-in players, you know what I mean, then hell, you do it. Let's stock up the covers and then see what we draft. And after that, and I think we should have a pretty good little mix there, brother.
Oh yeah, I agree. And then you got to realize, they still got this, they got the 6 picks now. They have undrafted free agency that they'll bring in. So they're going to fill out the 90-man roster. They still got to plug a couple of areas, or they can plug a little areas. And then you still got to see what they're going to do with Trent Williams now. They're talking about trading him and seeing what they could get for him. But they want Trent Williams. They don't want to lose Trent Williams, because anything you trade for Trent Williams to even start at left tackle ain't going to be on his level. So,
Right.
They got to figure out the financial part. But they bring him back. And then, like I said, you plug in a couple little holes, bring in another receiver, whatever the case may be, maybe another running back, to go, a veteran. Now I had heard they were thinking about bringing back Robinson as a running back. To me, I like Robinson. And this is the thing that sometimes gets me upset with Shanahan. Is like, man, you got to use the players you have. You know what I'm saying? You can't just run McCaffrey and them into the ground. You know what I'm saying? What you've been doing, and I know it's a level of trust and stuff, but y'all brought Robinson and you gave up a 6-7 round pick, whatever it was for him. Now, there were times where he really ran good, and there were times where some of the plays that y'all ran with him, like that toss, that ain't his game. You know what I'm saying? It's running between the tackles. He physical. You know what I'm saying? And you need that element to go to counteract with McCaffrey. So whether it's him or the running back, I would want them to get, if they were to get a veteran, would be the dude Rachaad White from the Buccaneers. To me, He's a
Oh
like
yeah,
he's
yeah,
a
he's
poor
nice.
man's McCaffrey. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He got some little power. He can run between the tackles. He can run that stretch play. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if they're gonna bring somebody in. They like Jordan James, and I don't know what they gonna do with Garendo if he ain't gonna be on the team. But you know what I'm saying? If you're gonna bring back Robinson, let's say they do bring back Robinson, man, give him more carries. You know what I'm saying? Give him more run than what you gave him last year. And if you bring him back, now he know your system. Now you brought him in like during training camp or toward the end of training camp, so he had to learn the system. But now, if you bring him back, he knows your system because he's been there all year. So it won't be that transition. And then you gotta just feature him more and let McCaffrey get a break. You can't run McCaffrey. You can't give him 400 more touches and think he gonna hold up. You know what I'm saying? Again. So and then to me, if you got another good viable running back, you can use McCaffrey really, really well. I think he's even better than a running back is as a receiver
Yes,
and get the mismatches, because that's another thing with Shanahan. Shanahan look for the mismatches in the defense. And so if you can get him on linebackers or even get him on a smaller nickel cornerback, you know what I'm saying? He can be what he was last year. He was a lot of the safety valve for the third downs when they were trying to, get the third downs. The dude had over 100 receptions. So to me, that's where, as he is, older now and have taken that pounding, running the ball, you got to have another running back that can spell him and at the same time be a threat, but also use him maybe where he's even better than a runner as a receiver and stuff. He's still gonna get his touches if he's healthy, but you got to take some of the load off of him and then having Mike Evans and hopefully Pierce all being healthy, and eventually we'll get Kittle back. But I like the Tonja. I think Tonja can eventually be that tight end for him. You know what I'm saying? Once Kittle, step down or whatever. So and then Tonja stepped up and proved he capable now. And to me, it's like Shanahan, you gotta give these dudes run. That's what I'm saying. If you're gonna draft a receiver and then you got two other receivers, Cowan, who obviously been hurt and haven't played in 2 years, and then you got Watkins, who really didn't play, and you want these dudes to step up, well, then you got to give them the opportunities to do it, even if they not it maybe on point initially. You got to give them the opportunities to be out there and stuff. You can't keep putting them on the shelf if they drop a ball and make a mistake. Now, do you want to keep putting them out there and they don't know? No, but shit, you ain't gonna know until you do it. And hopefully they're healthy to be out there to do it, to get the confidence. So that's how I look at it with Shanahan. You gotta, even with Garendo, you gotta, when his rookie year, he played for you, did good. Then last year is like, where the hell was he at? It's like, what happened? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. That's just how I look at it. If you're gonna go young and you didn't invested picks in these people, you gotta give them a chance until they prove to you that they can't do it. And so, my thing will be, okay, man, give them a chance, put them out there, and hopefully they can make the plays and show their talent and those kind of things.
Nah, definitely, brother. Well, we're gonna go ahead on slide, brother. Till next week, man. Shit, appreciate y'all rocking with us. Y'all know what it is. Every Friday, we'll be slapping y'all with a little something as we just count down until the season start. So for P Warrior _9er, myself, Benjamin S. Faithful Boys Podcast. Y'all know what it is. It's bang bang to the gang, man. Yeah. We out of here, you heard me.